Explosion Network podcast is never late, nor are they early. They arrive precisely when they're meant to. Welcome to the Lord of the Rings Extended, a Middle-earth podcast from explosionnetwork.com. Welcome to this week's episode of the Lord of the Rings Extended, a Middle-earth podcast. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here, you worms.
And Karen Marchant.
I just, guys, I think we just end the show here, guys. We just, that's a wrap for Desolation of Smaug. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
You got a whole lot of movie to go. Calm down. This week we are talking about The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, the synopsis of which is the dwarves, along with Bilbo Baggins and Gandalf the Grey, continue their quest to reclaim Erebor, their homeland from Smaug. Bilbo Baggins is in possession of a mysterious and magical ring. Directed by P. Jackson, written by Fran, Walsh, Philippa, Boyens, P. Jackson, Guillermo del Toro, based on novel by J.R.R. Tolkien. Kieran, you're not going first because I know you're going to have a lot to say. Ash, when the first time you watched this movie, did you like it? And how do you feel about it on this rewatch?
I think it was fine, I guess. It's not great or good, you know. It's just okay. It's definitely long. It feels its length. Again, it feels like they're pulling a bunch of characters in from the past just to have them in there, particularly Legolas, who, I don't know, did he always have eyes that blue? I don't think so, right?
No.
It looks like his whole eyeball is blue, which I don't think is even humanly possible or elvishly possible.
Yeah.
But, you know, there were some cool action sequences. You know, they did a lot of stabbing. That was cool. A lot of orcs taken down. At least the orcs were, like, actual humans in suits most of the time. Yeah, it's just a bit very slow. Like, you go through this forest, like these hobbits and dwarves don't know how to follow directions.
You know what's frustrating? Don't even. Sorry, keep going.
You'll have your time. You'll have your time.
They get captured, you know, and they get away because all the elves get drunk because, you know, that's the thing. You know. And then there's a cool barrel sequence, you know, down a river. Oh, man. We should have made this a video podcast, I
think. Kieran's getting very frustrated not being able to talk. He's like a child in the back seat at the moment.
And then we got a dude called Bard, right? His name Bard?
Bard? Oh, yeah, Bard. Yeah.
Bard,
you know?
Bard. Yeah, Luke thingy.
You know, it turns out he's not going to be on board with the Hobbit, the dwarves, you know. But he's been helping this entire time. It's very awkward. You got Stephen Fry being
Stephen Fry,
I guess, and then Weasel, the Littlefinger attempt guy. Try hard. I don't know.
You at least could have gotten like worm fucking tongue.
Worm tongue.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to be more relevant for the kids. People know like the Thrones.
That's fine.
Yeah, and you know they get to the mountain, get inside. You know, it just doesn't look very good either. I think for the most part, it's like very. The CGI looks rushed. I think, which is crazy. When they, I would assume, have had like a year to get it done.
Well, they pop these out one a year, so
yeah,
like there's one every year. It's crazy.
But didn't they do this? They did the same thing as Lord of the Rings, where they shot it all at once.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
I don't know if they needed.
They shot
Lord
it
of the Rings
chronologically.
I don't know what the go was.
Yeah, it was just okay. You know, there's some cool moments. I still don't know who any of the dwarves are really.
Hey, if you don't know who the fuck Keeley is, then you didn't watch half of this movie.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Yeah, there's interesting moments, and then there's the whole Gandalf thing, which was not good.
Yeah,
I just cut that out.
I bet I say what I need to say quickly before Kieran explodes.
Yeah.
I think this is from my in my mind coming into this rewatch, because I hadn't watched any of these 3 films since I watched them in the cinema. This was my least favorite when I watched it, and that's like currently that's where I'm like last week's film. The first one was definitely a lot more enjoyable than this.
Not enough songs in this one.
No, that's the major problem, really. I feel like this one definitely feels like so stretched out. Like you can, like Kieran's like talking about the first film. It's like, oh, this extended. But for the most part, the stuff that was added, I was like, I was definitely like, I could see like why they would do this. Like I could this watching this one, I'm like, oh, I hate everything about this. Like all of the Gandalf stuff. And the connected to the Lord of the Rings stuff in this one doesn't work for me, whereas in the first film those scenes I'm like I can like it's not great, but I can get aboard the direction that we're trying to go. I can see how you'd want to link it to the films that made this franchise so popular for filmgoers and stuff. Like I can get it, but for this one I'm like it's just nonsense, and it really does feel like 2 films. And really the stuff with the actual hobbits, Bilbo and the dwarves. No, I said hobbit. There's literally one. Bilbo and the dwarves. Like their journey just feels so stretched out, like crazy thin to the point that it's like unnecessarily long. And then most of the Gandalf stuff just feels like it's just 2 separate stories stretched out. I don't really like. I don't know. I think the special effects even look worse in this. I don't know if it's because there's more orcs on screen than the first one, but
there's some real bad.
Yeah,
the special effects around Legolas are fucking horrible. There is a couple about. Oh, I'm like, this is
okay. Just let Dylan finish, and then you.
Sorry.
Even and we were saying this last week, where I was like, I'm really looking forward to getting to the Lord of the Rings and just seeing, picturing those orcs again, just ugly makeup based, costume based stuff, and then I'm staring at these motherfuckers talking, these orcs here. That one scene where you got a few of them, talking and getting their orders and whatever else, and I'm like, I just hate the way everything looks here. Like everything just looks so weird and yuck, and I just ew. And then some of the Legolas where his body just, I guess the body shape animation stuff doesn't actually seem correct at all. I think the barrel sequence is dumb. That was the thing I hated the most. The first time I watched this was actually the barrel sequence. I thought it was just...
You didn't love Legolas just jumping on people's heads.
No, I thought it was absolutely meme-worthy. I think the best, if I had to say like a saving grace, is like there are still those elements of the first film where I'm like, I enjoy the actors in these parts for the most part. I enjoy like when like Ian McKellen is like bringing at least something to those scenes that saves them from being terrible. Like, Aidan Gillen, that's a different actor. Aidan Turner is bringing like something to that to Killy, and Evangeline Lilly's trying to make this love story. Yeah, they're trying to make this love story work. But I don't know. It's just like I feel like the actors are really like pulling a lot out of the script to save this from being as bad as it possibly would have been, like in the hands of less skilled actors, I guess is the main thing. But yeah, this is, if it wasn't set in the Middle Earth and it wasn't set around these characters, it would be such a like C grade straight to DVD film, I feel. Kieran, free your mind.
That's okay.
I don't think there was enough Desolation of Smaug. That's my problem.
Desolation of Smaug.
This is so. It's the first movie takes a good chunk of The Hobbit, right? Takes a good old chunk of The Hobbit.
How much do you say? What size chunk?
Meaty chunk, like maybe close to 50%.
Yeah,
close to 50% of the book is in that first movie. So they look at this movie and you go, fuck, and the screenwriters go, fuck, we've got to write 2 more movies out of this stuff. How do we do that? And so to put it into context, the story for the dwarves and the hobbits is they talk to Bearman, Bjorn, they get to Mirkwood, they get lost in the Mirkwood, spiders, go spend a month being trapped by the elves, escape the elves, go to Lake Town, go to the mountain. The problem, my biggest issue with this movie is this movie stops being about Bilbo Baggins for a large part of its runtime. Is just nothing to do with Bilbo Baggins, nothing to do with his story. We have this Gandalf mission that's is heavy-handedly forced into just the screenplay, with him and Radagast going to check to see, Saruman back there, he was like Lich King being saved, that's Cap. And Gandalf's like, no, bro, it ain't Cap, it's legit. And just everything from that point onwards, I'd completely forgot. I was trying to remember if the scene with Thorin's dad was in the original theatrical version or not, and I meant to look this up and I didn't, because I couldn't remember any of that shit. The weird scene of like the shot of Gandalf looking up at Gandalf as this little haggard man drops out of nowhere and like falls on him.
I think Darren Thrain was only in the extended edition.
He's only in the extended. Okay, so that I understand why that was cut, because that was a whole load of nothing, which was supposed to be something. But yeah, this part of The Hobbit is about Bilbo coming into his own. It's about Bilbo finally having the confidence after getting the ring of being a member of the team. He works out how to fight against the spiders. He's the only one that actually defeats the spiders, and he spends time skulking around the Elven city and learns information, works up the courage to steal the keys, to work out the escape plan, everything by himself. And then the last encounter with Smaug, which they shit the bed on, and I'll get to that in a second, because that really bothers me. But it just feels like they spend too much time doing other things. Too much time on Bard's story. Too much time on this love triangle with Keely.
There wasn't that much time spent on it.
There's a lot. Like, there is a lot. Like, in it would at
maybe
least be...
like 10 minutes, maybe?
No shot. It is not 10 minutes.
I don't think you can count just all the scenes they're in as part of those.
No, but I count everything. So when I talk about the love story, I don't talk about just Tauriel and Keely. I talk about Tauriel, Keely, Legolas, and Legolas' father.
Okay, well that's a lot then. If we're going to talk about love triangle, then that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, like the love, that whole story is just bloated and unnecessary, and it's like, of course the fucking attractive dwarf is going to end up falling in love with an elfin woman, and she's going to fall in love with him. Of course this is happening. And I feel like this story is supposed to be... This story is supposed to be, like, for Legolas, and, like, almost the reason that Legolas is these stories are supposed to lead to Legolas becoming the man that he is in Lord of the Rings, but it kind of it makes, not little to no sense, but it's just really weird timing for Legolas. And Lake Town's Lake Town. Stephen Fry's cool. Stephen Fry, and I don't, there is something...
Eating some testicles?
I was going to say, there's something about him eating those testicles that I was like, dude, you get it. You get it. It frustrates me and bothers me leaving part of the dwarves in Lake Town just so that this whole thing of Keely getting hit with an arrow so that he ends up staying in Lake Town, and so we get another elf maiden coming in to rescue somebody that's been poisoned with the exact same plant and flower that they saved Frodo with. Is just very kind of almost feels lazy and giving them a reason to reunite and rejoin. And then the dragon Smaug, or Smaug, however you want to say it. Smaug. He is the antagonist of the book. He is the daunting antagonist, and to me, reading that book and kind of, I didn't connect it at the time, but connect you now. Smaug is Hannibal Lecter. is very limited screen time and very limited actual presence in the book, but the scenes that he is in there, he's captivating, he's interesting, he is cerebral, and for the rest of the time, everybody else is talking about it. Everybody else is pushing that story along for him. So he's still central with only spending a minimal amount of time in the Fallout. And I think the first interaction between Bilbo and Smaug is Bilbo sneaking in, and he's invisible the entire time. Smaug doesn't see him, and they have this whole back and forth and discussion. And I understand that philosophical and deep and complex conversations, people are worried that they don't translate well to the screen, and they don't translate well to modern kind of audiences, and they need action, they need things happening to keep them interested. I think you lose a lot of the dragon's character by avoiding that and not having that involved in this, and having the back and forth between Bilbo and the dragon being very just being very action and animated, of Bilbo actively hiding and the dragon looking around, and it not just it's just it doesn't. And getting the Arkenstone, this point in the movie, in the book, Bilbo gets in there and successfully gets out with the Arkenstone as the prize of proof that he got in there and he did it and everything's safe and he's got the proof. This does it to me. By the end of this movie, you don't feel like Bilbo has grown as an adventurer in a more confident way. He's still kind of this lucky to be there kind of adventurer, where everything that happens it doesn't happen through skill or through confidence or anything. It's just kind of luck and him thinking on his feet a little bit more. And then just the barrel scene, feeling the need to have more orcs. It's just all the orcs. Too many orcs crammed into nowhere for no reason. And then the final chase scene, feeling like there needs to be more action scenes with Smaug and the dwarves running around and lighting the furnaces and covering him in gold. And you just get to the end of the movie and you look at it and you reflect on it and you go, this is a cool ending, but at the same time, I feel like this either should have been the ending of one movie into the second movie, or this should have been not an ending and it should have just carried on. It's just in a very weird spot. I'll talk about Battle of Five Armies next week, of course, when we release.
Good plan. I think that's a good plan.
That's a good plan.
I like that. Let's lock.
Actually, no. Part of me wants to if we could just stop right now.
I reckon we lock that in. Let's talk about
just bail out. But I just it just feels like they're just trying to spread a very thin script across wider sections, fill it up with it's almost like you've written an essay and you haven't met the word limit, so people start putting in filler sentences and not very meaningful information into it to kind of stretch that word count out. And I think it does a disservice to The Hobbit and the franchise as a whole.
Let me try and break down this movie into two little sections here now. So let's tackle what I'll call the Lord of the Rings section. So that's basically Gandalf and all that sort of stuff that's going in this, not connected to the story of The Hobbit at all, really. My question is this. All of Ash.
Yes.
Do you think what you watch in this movie and everything you see Gandalf go on about, do you think it makes much sense to you?
No.
That's the biggest problem I have.
I think isn't the start of Lord of the Rings, they're surprised that Saruman's back?
So
Sauron's back?
Most of the scenes in this are either extended, or at least from what I understand, a lot of the scenes in this to do with Gandalf and all that stuff are extended and added to try and make this stuff work better than it did in the theatrical version, but it still just doesn't work very well. But what they tried to do, and this is what I was talking about last week, where Gandalf makes sure to mention the last ring, the dwarf ring that what's-it-call's dad had when he went into battle. That the reason he mentions that ring is because it was that one of the reasons they don't worry about Saruman is that Sauron.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry,
My
I'm
bad.
mixing up
I
characters.
screwed you up,
Yeah. One of the reasons they're not worried about him is because that when he died, or when they think they killed him, that was one of the rings he didn't have, right? And they're all like, he doesn't have that ring. No one knows where it is. We don't know what's going on. So then you've got a bunch of characters that actually think that what's his fuck's trying to break into the what the bloody hell's his name? The main bloody Thorin. But now you got all these people who think Thorin's trying to, like the elves and whatever else. They think Thorin's trying to get into reclaim the homeland, not for the gold or anything, but actually for the ring. And they think that the ring's in there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then Gandalf finds out actually that the ring was lost because his father lost it. Now, this is a scene that was added to this to try and make all of this make more sense. I still think it's way too confusing for people who don't care to either read a Wikipedia page or read the books or anything like that. But they tried to make it make more sense. I don't think it helps. But that's why they have that scene where he talks to him in the what's-my-call place, where he says, like, no, I got Azog or whatever cut off his finger. So that's more or less to say to you, hey, that guy, the bad guy who's chasing after our heroes, cut off the finger with the ring that everyone thinks that Sauron's not going to have, but he's now got it. Is the implication of what's going on there. So now they're trying to say that's how he gets one of the last remaining rings that he needs. That's what all of this is to do. It's all to do the build up of how and why he comes back when we get to the Lord of the Rings. I think, again, I'll say what I said last week. I think adding this storyline into this movie, if it was done right, I think could have been good. I think if you could have done a much better movie where you integrated the Hobbit book and had the storyline run in tandem, and you have this, if you want to do this, I don't think doing this is a terrible idea. I do think that the way these scenes are presented are so messy that only people who are going to understand what's happening are the people who either already know or are hardcore fans or have to go home and like do a bunch of Wikipedia and stuff, which is what I had to do the first time I watched these fucking movies in the cinema. Because I was like, none of that's making any sense to me. And I had to leave the cinema and go like, look up what all these things meant, because I wasn't like, I hadn't read all the books and stuff like that. And they'd be like, oh, right, okay, yeah. And now I'm watching these extended cuts for the first time going, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to fix it, but it's some super glue on some broken ass table shit that's happening here. Like it can only do so much. So yeah, I think that's the major problem. I don't know. Like, so you watch all that stuff, Ash.
Yeah.
Like, you just zone out. Like, how are you even taking it?
What is Gandalf doing? Why do they want the ring off his finger? That seems a bit extreme. Couldn't they have just taken it off? Taking the whole finger would seem unnecessary, especially when it's going to have a bunch of blood loss. Why are you keeping him alive? If the only thing you wanted was the ring. Why are you hiding in this castle? Why you got this spell going? Yeah.
I don't know that part. I can't explain. I have no idea why that part. I don't know what's going on there either. But
so what beats Gandalf at the end?
What beats?
Sauron, right?
What? That is Sauron, yeah.
So Sauron is back already.
Well, he's reforming. He's not at full power. He's like
Voldemort on the back of what's-McCall's head and the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah. That's a good. Yeah, on Quirrell's head. He is like head, reforming. It's weird. Also, minor point: lazy casting. Just having Benedict Cumberbatch do the VO for Sauron as well as Smaug.
They're like, we already got you in a suit to play.
They're brothers. That's what it is.
Yeah. Confirmed.
Sauron and Smaug. See, S's.
Have you guys seen the motion capture as well?
Where he's crawling around on the ground.
Yeah, when he's crawling on the ground, and I'm like, this is so wasted and just, ugh.
I mean, that's how Peter Jackson like made all these like he like does Golem and everything, and then you know he does King Kong where he has like he has Andy Serkis doing Kong and everything. So like that's how he does roles.
I did not realize Andy Serkis did second unit directing on this all these films.
Yeah, I think that's where that was like, and then he got his directing chops on these. Yeah.
Yep, and then he passed it all into Venom.
He directed a decent movie. He directed a decent movie that stars Simon Pegg. I can't remember what it's called actually, but it's like set during the 50s or some shit. As a side note, but yeah, and then the main storyline. The problem there is other than being super thinned out, is it also feels just rushed at the same time. So the elf like. You like Kieran's whole thing. Oh, in the book they're there for like a month or whatever. It feels like they're there for like 2 hours. You know, before Bilbo 100%. Saves them. So even if you want to set up, and I think this helps them, or is a disservice to their other storyline where they're trying to do this romance between two, you know, like almost a Romeo Juliet romance between two races who apparently, you know, hate each other. Because maybe if they had have been trapped there for a month and they had showed the travel of time and showed that Toriel and Killy had been like spending a month talking to each other, maybe you buy into that romance a bit more then because they've spent so long talking to one another. But the way the film shows time is like they talk to each other once or twice.
We're on a deadline. This moon is coming.
Yeah, I know. But they talk to each other once or twice. And then she's like, "No, I love you so much."
Yeah, well, I think they have the same deadline in. They have the same deadline in the book, if I remember rightly, but it's not nearly as close.
Yeah, so they left it to the last minute. You know, they procrastinated too long. Like, oh no, we need to go right now. Leave it to the last minute. Okay. If we had prepared, we could have walked around the forest. If we had left earlier.
Oh my god, I hate how much they extended the forest scene too. Way too much, like just.
So you know what's right. I got frustrated when
magic mushroom scenes.
Yeah.
In Mirkwood, the dwarves just get lost. In the book, that's all it is. There's no magic power leading them off the edge. There's no like trippy sensations or anything like that. It's just. The dwarves get lost because they're fucking stubborn and indignant dwarves that are just stuck in their ways and not willing to, you know, stop and ask for directions. And it's just a lot of padding for no reason in all things like that.
Yeah, I think that was probably the longest scene in the movie for me. It's just how long that was actually dragged out. And then how do we feel about Legolas in this? How do we feel about Orlando Bloom?
He's sure, but
what's with the eyes?
Unneeded. I think it's supposed to show him at a point in his life where he's a lot closer to his father, and he's a lot similar to his father in the way he is in his.
He's not tainted by the world of man.
Yeah, he's not met at this point. I don't think he's met. Oh no, he has to have met Aragorn by now.
I'm not that deep, and I'm not deep enough in the lore to tell you that.
Let me just.
I mean, how many years is this before Lord of the Rings? Like 80?
80 years. Aragorn is surprisingly. Aragorn's 87 in Fellowship.
What?
So,
what? No, he's not. Isn't he like?
Yeah, Aragorn's 87 in Fellowship.
I thought he was like older.
No, at the start of he's 87 at the start of Fellowship, and that's because of his Jirdan.
Yeah, I thought he was older than 80s. I thought he was like over 100.
No, when he gets to when it's like Two Towers, he's like because
we're doing some bloody live age checking here on characters apparently.
He looks about 35 to me.
Yeah, no, he looks it, but he's 87. And Fellowship, and so
Just
the
have one
trip
hell of a moisturizing camp. Bruce.
takes a couple years.
So Legolas
I think it
hasn't met him, is what we're saying.
wouldn't have properly met him.
No, because he's like one.
No, it's 80s. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
so Legolas hasn't met him yet.
before
So
Lord
this
of
is
the
this is
Rings
prior
the
to
Hobbit.
that. This is. I think this is supposed to be
It's
the
60
story that
years.
leads.
So he could technically be like
He could
Aragorn's
be
like 20.
yeah, because Aragorn's been there since he was young.
Yeah, and Legolas
okay.
is like 3
But
million
this
years
is-
old.
Yeah, this is. I get the feeling what they're going for the story is trying to have this story be the reason that Legolas started to be the person he is at the start of Fellowship. But no, he's just a dick that really wants a woman. He's a nice guy. No. Legolas is just a nice guy in this. You should.
I don't
be
feel like he's a
me.
dick. I don't feel like he's anything, to be honest. I feel like he definitely comes and helps. He doesn't like argue too much. He's not like, why would you help them? He's happy to come help and
No,
kill some
I feel
orcs
like
or whatever. But
You know who is a dick? Lee Pace.
Lee Pace.
Yes.
Lee Pace is a great.
Lee Pace is a dick in everything he's in. So I mean, what's new here?
Don't slander Pushing Daisies, where he's a very nice man.
Oh, okay. Fuck, what else was I going to say? Other thing I noticed in this, I don't remember if I hadn't noticed before or whatever, is the Gimli shout out.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because
I didn't know they.
Gimli's dad.
I don't know if that wasn't added or
It's
something. But
obvious of it. No, that was in the. I rolled my eyes. I remember rolling my eyes during.
okay, it's such like a shoved in scene.
My
Like
first viewing.
that's my
'Cause
son,
it's so
Gimli.
fucking-
Yeah.
It's so fucking obvious and over the top that
Yeah.
it's like. I get why it's funny because Legolas is there, so you're supposed to be like showing
it's funny.
Legolas of Gimli's
Calls him ugly.
existence.
Mm.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
But
Funny
the
and
wife, I
foreshadowing.
feel like the wife part was like a funny bit, right? No,
I can't even remember it.
because it's like he's got like this picture of his wife or whatever. It's like, who's this? Your brother or whatever? It's like, that's my wife, or whatever. Because it's like a buff looking,
Yes,
whatever.
yeah.
I was like, all right, I guess that's a fine bit. But then when it's like, who's this? What ugly thing or whatever? Well, that's my son Gimli. You may have heard of him from films such as Lord of the Rings. Like,
100%. It is. Yeah, it's just another occasion of the writers being like, "Hey guys, remember this is connected to Lord of the Rings."
Yeah.
Even though Legolas is stood right there, still remember there's other things going on.
I love my little lad. One day he'll help out. Yeah, Smaug at the end. So that scene, for some reason I thought it was longer. I mean, it's not like short, the whole like going around the like trying to steal the jewel and all that sort of stuff. But for some reason I thought it was actually longer in my mind. But I feel like it's decent. Like I enjoy the parts. I enjoyed it the most when it's just Bilbo like sneaking away, or even like you just got Smaug like talking to him and saying all this stuff. Like all of that's really cool. Once you get Thorin come in and it's just all them running around and stuff like that, it's like it's like sort of not really.
Why didn't they double back at some point to the exit?
I had no idea.
I don't know. Nobody knows. This is once again something that didn't happen in the books that the writers are like, "Ooh, just do it." Yes.
My favorite shot, I think, is like there's one stage where like Bilbo's like trying to sneak down and he sees like the coins like start moving again. And he just like stands there like legs and arms out like a statue, and then stops moving and he tries to go. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like Martin Freeman's like good during all of that sort of stuff, so I enjoyed it there. Is there anything I haven't mentioned that anyone wants to bring up that I've forgot?
Bard, could they foreshadow the end of this movie, these end of these movies anymore?
What, that he's going to shoot the arrow?
I've got one black arrow. Totally, my ancestors missed the shot. I'm going to do it though. It's if he does, I don't think anybody walked out of the second movie thinking that he didn't kill Smaug in the third movie.
Imagine if he missed.
Hey, you, my son and child. Make sure you hold off all of these dwarves and this hobbit and make sure they do not leave. What? They left? It's just like... it's like,
True.
what did you expect? This poor boy.
It's like it's nothing I have against what the fuck's his name?
Luke Evans.
It's nothing against him. I just like the character's like pretty boring.
No. Well, the thing is, once again, Bard was like reasonably a bit part in the books. Like, he was not focused on that much. The trial of Lake Town wasn't that much of a focus. It was just, the whole connection of Bard being the person that needs to shoot down the dragon at some point because of his ancestors. Would you guys like to maybe reforge, keep it, or throw it into the fire? We're here again, boys.
I like how last week this game started out as let's play a game where you throw it in the fire. Now it's throw it in the fire.
Because you know what? I need to feel better about myself that you fucks don't just say keep it all the time.
Keep it.
And I'm just like, it hurts me inside. So we'll start with, and there's only 4 this week, but they're very big ones. They're not kind of minor bitty ones. They are.
Sounds like a lot of reforging is what I'm hearing.
It's most likely a lot of reforging. Gandalf's entire mission, the journey to the Witch King's burial ground, everything in the fortress, meeting Thorin's dad, fighting Sauron. For me, just fucking throw it into the fire. Let it be the Hobbit. Just drop everything Lord of the Rings,
Sticking with what I said last week, and I'm reforging. Even though I don't like it at all in this movie, I feel like there is a potential in a different world for that storyline to work, so I'm going to go reforge.
I say throw it in the fire. There's no saving it.
Yes! Throw it into the fire!
Just let us leave it to our imagination. That's what the Lord of the Rings is for.
100%.
Don't try and explain it too much.
100%.
We don't need to know everything.
Gandalf just popped out for some milk. He'll be back at some point. He'll turn up exactly when the dwarves and Bilbo need him. Who cares? He'll turn
I mean, they literally try and explain
He could
it
have just found, all he had to do was find the thing broken out of, and that would have been enough.
In the first movie, he disappears, and someone's like, "Where's he going?" And then one of us is just like, "He's a wizard. He does what he wants." It's like, that's all the explanation you need.
100%. 100%. It's all the explanation you need. The character, played by Evangeline Lilly Toriel, and the entire love triangle between herself, Keeley, and Legolas. This is for me, for some people in this podcast, don't believe it was that long. For me, it was a utter stretched out travesty that just took away from everything we're working with. The Hobbit isn't supposed to have any romance in it. It's a kid's book. I don't think this is needed at all. This could be once again promptly thrown into the fire.
Sticking it in the fire.
Just in the fucking fire.
I'm going to reforge it. I'm against segregation. I think we should be very pro these couplings, is my opinion. But it could be done better.
Okay. In the book,
love is love is love is love.
Oh my god! Carrying on. In the book, Bilbo spends a month in the Elven City, but no, we do not capture that in this movie. But that is not the point we're making. Once Bilbo has figured out his escape plan and stealthily puts the dwarves in the barrels, they close the barrels and flow down the river peacefully, not being chased. They sneak. It's a successful mission, showing how great Bilbo was, or how well he'd come from his plans. But no, old man Peter Jackson, and somehow I'm going to blame Guillermo del Toro.
Whoa. Why are you going to bring his name into this?
There's 4 writers, of which you just named 2, so I don't know if you want to go grab the other 2 writer names.
Blame? Yeah. No, the other two are nobodies. Those two sat down. What we need is Legolas riding on the barrels, on the heads of them, and we're going to make sure the lids are off so that we can see everybody. And that means we'll also lead each other down to having fish poured all over them later on. Yeah, the whole barrel chase scene for me is just fucking pointless. It is more like action cannon fodder. Minor point that is nothing directly related, but I think one does happen. I think there is 3 separate cases of Wilhelm screams in this fucking movie. There is 1 in the original one. I'm okay with the first one. I'm okay with 1. When it's 3, I'm like, I don't need this. This is No, stop. It's too. I don't know.
The worst one is actually when what's-my-call's dad gets like hit.
Yes.
As he's like dragged away or hit or whatever, when Gandalf is like trying to fight off Sauron and whatever, it's like, oh, like Wilhelm scream. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Yep. It was like, oh, okay. No, I guess it was an extended scene, so they just went, fuck it. But the entire barrel chase scene.
Straight into the pits of Mordor.
Throw it into the fire.
Nah, you got to keep it. It's so much fun. It's the equivalent of the Goblin chase sequence, you know?
No.
It was if you didn't have that, there'd be no action sequence for like another 3 hours. You'd have something. Keep people interested. You know? And then we'd miss out on Bomber like spinning around with 2 axes, you know, in his barrel.
Not to be crazy, but you had an action scene literally 15 minutes prior where they fought off a bunch of spiders.
Yeah. But there are no barrels. You know what I mean?
Just
you know, you got to set up the orc threat as well. You know, they're coming after him.
What? There is no orc threat.
There were literally orcs attacking them.
There's no threat. There shouldn't have been an orc threat.
I didn't realize that the dude that what's his face? Do
you mean NPC stand-in mini boss that replaces Azog the Defiler?
Yeah, Azog. Yeah, apparently he's Azog's son.
Didn't know that. No.
It's so pointless. No, it's so pointless.
That information has changed little about my life.
It's pointless. Because for some reason, this movie was like, hey, Azog the Defiler, you get a promotion to be a commander of a giant army. We'll send somebody else after them.
He's a war chief now.
Yeah.
And how would they have gotten into Lake Hound if they weren't in the battle? Well, I guess the barrels would. If it was a peaceful ride, it would be fine.
You're asking a question when you can literally, there's an answer because it's based on a book. Like it's in a book. You're like, how would they have done this if it wasn't done in the movie and which they've changed it from a book?
And they don't.
It would have been so much more boring.
Peaceful
it's like Kieran wanting them to be in prison for a month. It's like, come on.
But the thing is, you don't sit there because it's not from the dwarf's perspective. You're in fucking Bilbo's perspective when he's scuttling about the place.
So you see him scuttling around for a month. I don't want to see that.
It doesn't have to be a month, but it just has to show his fucking progression.
Okay, yep.
Spending his time fucking hiding from elves. And the final one, Smaug's battle with the dwarves. The lighting of the forges. The coating him with the gold, just that whole action sequence. You know, dwarves gotta have some OH&S, right? Why the fuck are your billows powered by a robust dwarf jumping down a chain and landing on the billows? You know,
fun. That's why these dwarves need some enjoyment in their life. You know.
What the fuck are you saying?
They get enjoyment out of diggy hole. They just dig holes far underground. You know, like it's that's their joy.
I don't know. It's harder to like push it down, right? I don't know if there would be a mechanism that would be easy to do that with.
I feel like there is, and there should be, because they're fucking dwarves.
I'm going Bennett.
It's tradition, Kieran.
Bennett, straight into the fire, straight into the forge for this one because it's going with the gold. Ashley Hobley, you're going to probably say...
Keep it.
Keep it. Yeah, of course you're
right. I wouldn't put it in the gold because, you know, it'd just walk out of it, apparently. So, it'd be very ineffective, it turns out.
That is so poorly anticlimactic. They at least could have had, like, a better, like, a more fulfilled moment of...
He could have at least been, like, a little bit burnt. But no,
I just hate how dumb it makes Smaug look for a moment because he's literally down there with all this gold and they make out like he's a bloody pigeon attracted to something. Like he sees this giant statue. I know he's like, oh, I never. Like he'd been staring at God. He was in the cave of gold. Like,
you explain. They do explain in the book that dragons are stupid when it comes to gold. Like they're just so greedy and so.
I get that, but still, I just
the gold, but it
just
doesn't.
dumb.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it
come
also
off.
looks terrible when the gold melts, like just the way, like I feel like it should have exploded out more.
You know what?
To like,
you know what? I was like, this looks like an effect the guys at Corridor Crew are showing me how to do in After Effects. Like, this is, I'm waiting for Ren to start talking to me about liquid simulations right
yeah.
now.
So I don't feel like it had any liquid simulation. Yeah. So
But,
no.
yes. Thank you. We threw a lot of stuff into the fire this week. Join us next time where we throw the whole Hobbit trilogy in the fire. Back to you, Dylan.
Here's my question. All right, here's my fun segment.
Yeah.
Kieran.
Oh, everyone gets his fucking segment on this podcast now. Jesus Christ. Right.
Is
Karen.
this communism?
Which of these two films do you think has the higher Metascore?
Unexpected Journey.
It's a
I
trick
know
question.
you've asked me this. You've asked me this knowing that the other one, The Desolation of Smaug, has a higher Metascore.
The Hobbit
But-
Unexpected Journey has a 58 on Metacritic. Desolation of Smaug has a 66. On Rotten
I'm
Tomatoes,
okay with that.
The Hobbit has a 64%. The Hobbit Desolation of Smaug has a 74%.
I don't. Dylan, end the show. Quick. Get us out of here.
Shout out to Stephen Colbert for his cameo. It's a random spy dude.